Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Civic Action Podcast, the voice of the next generation. My name is Maurice. I'm the founder and executive director of Virtutem Populo. We're a student-led 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting civic engagement and community involvement among youth in Miami-Dade County. We do this through programming, advocacy, and education. The Civic Action Podcast is one of the ways in which we carry out our mission. First things first, I want to wish all our viewers a happy new year. We are kicking off 2024 strong with a brand new episode, season 2 of the Civic Action Podcast. And we're starting that season off with an amazing guest. So I want to introduce Josh Rios, former student advisor of the Miami-Dade County Public School Board, very involved in our community, has worked in government. He's only 23 years old, already has his master's in business administration from the University of Florida, and it's just an amazing example, especially for our high school students, our middle school, students who are listening about, the importance of dual enrollment classes, how to get ahead early, how to get more involved. So I'll let Josh introduce himself. Thank you for coming, Josh.
No, thank you, Maurice, for giving me this opportunity to have this platform. I'm like, I'm such a fan of yours at such a young age that you've been able to, create an organization, create a podcast that is the first and foremost student involvement. And I think it's so important, especially nowadays with all the policies are coming on in the state of Florida, for kids to know what laws are going to affect them directly. So the things you're doing and your posse, your group of students, I think it's such a great thing. But yeah, I look forward to what kind of conversation we have. So it's going to be great.
Thank you, Josh. So I guess let's kick things off. Tell us a little bit about you. I mean, obviously you've accomplished so much in pretty little time. But tell us, where'd you go to high school, what you do for college, what did you do in high school, all of that.
Right. So actually before high school, I had spent 13 years in a private school called Westwood Christian School. And right after that, my senior year, I spent time in School for Advanced Studies, SAS Kendall, where I would say that's where I really got involved in my start in both in student government, but also in government in general. As we're going to talk mostly on school board, but I started off as a vice president in my class my junior year. I had a teacher named Miss Conkling, my English teacher, that she was the one who pushed me to get more involved. Her, alongside my guidance counselor and a couple people in my administration, were like, Josh, I think it'd be a great opportunity for you to become student advisor on the school board. And I didn't know what exactly that was. All I knew at the time was about Alberto Carvalho, the superintendent, but I didn't know the governmental process, how it worked with the district. But I learned, and then I got elected in 2018 as student advisor. It was a great experience. Obviously, I take that as the reason why I'm so involved in government now. A lot of the people and connections I've made have been kind of like a web through the school board. And after I graduated from SCS in 2019, I went on to University of Florida, where I graduated my bachelor's in political science and economics. And then later on, just recently, I just graduated my master's in business management from the University of Florida. So it's been a great ride for the last couple of years, always staying involved. And I think it's so important for students to stay involved, because even the involvement you had when you were little in high school can carry on like it has for me. So that's 100%.
No, absolutely. I mean, your resume is obviously very, very impressive. And for those who don't know, the student advisor to the school board represents over 330,000 students in all of Miami-Dade County's public schools. But before we get to that, I want to touch base, your education-wise, most students, they graduate high school, let's say at 18. They'll do 4 years of a bachelor's degree, 22. Then they start doing their master's. They'll finish when they're 24, 25. You're 23, just turned 23, already have your master's. Tell us a little bit how you got that done. Any advice for the students listening on what they can do to just get ahead educationally and be able to achieve something like a master's degree at only 23 years old?
Right. Well, I would say this. It was not easy, but it was not hard either. I mean, it was not hard, but it was not easy either. I would say the process of going into SAS. But once you're in SAS, it's very much you're doing your college classes and high school classes at the same time, APs. So my schedule would be have our dual enrollment classes in Miami-Dade College, by the way, in person from the morning, and then afternoon we'd have our AP English, history, math, and that would be for 2 years. So not only did SCS give me the ability of getting advanced in my career, in my academic career, but it also allowed me to become more independent. So I would say in your regard that you were able to not even go to SCS but get your associate's degree before you graduate. I think that's even more difficult because you didn't have the set schedule to have classes in the
Right.
morning and the afternoon. So I would say for students who are maybe thinking about going into SAS, and my principal probably will love me for advertising, but I really recommend it. It's such a great program. You really become independent. You really become, advance in your professional and academic career, and the opportunities being in the MBCPS system, being the number 3 school in the United States by U.S. News and World Report. It was a great experience. And for kids who want to get involved, maybe not in SCS, but still in their school, I think you have the keys to success. No matter what, you have to put in that extra time.
Find the dual enrollment classes. Not
Right.
everything's going to come to you. So I
Right.
guess for those who don't know, SAS, School for Advanced Studies, public school, located at each of the MDC campuses. So kind of like a unique model where you take college classes and high school classes during the day, and you have the ability of graduating with your associate's degree. But I guess, and I think Josh will agree, my advice is if you want to take dual enrollment classes, you have to, go out there and find them. The opportunities are there. MDCPS really does give students the world when it comes to things like that. It's just a matter of signing up for the classes, sticking to them. And it's a money saver as well, because let's say you don't have bright futures. All the dual enrollment classes you take during high school are covered by the school district, right? So it's a great deal.
And let me tell you that one of the things that kids, even like friends I still have to this day, it's such a close knit group. It's probably the smallest graduating class of NDCPS. So you have I will never forget, we have this group of kids that were 20 of us, and to this day we're still friends. And that's one of the things that a lot of people have told me I'm going to lose my college experience. I'm sorry, my high school experience. A lot of people were telling me I won't go to proms or to grad bash and things like that. We did all of that. And actually, from comparison to the school I had gone previously, a lot of the things that like grad bash we didn't have in my previous school. So it's basically like the same as a regular public school, but you're grinding. You really are grinding and making sure you get your associates at the end, because there's always that 1%
that doesn't get it.
And you don't want to be that 1%.
No, absolutely not. So senior year of high school, you were student advisor to the school board. Talk to us. How did you get elected to that? What kind of were your duties and responsibilities? What was it like, sitting on the dais of the school board at such a young age?
Right. So I was the first student advisor from SAS, and a lot of
really?
Yes, I was. So one of the reasons why there was no one previous than me is because SAS they're known for being a very tough school, and that you have no time. If you're not studying for your college classes, you're studying for your APs, right? And there was so much doubt that from my teachers that, like, can you handle this? And I mean, let me try it out. And I ran my election. I'm pretty sure I came in like with a landslide, and it was fun. I met so many kids, and starting then on the 2018-2019 school year, one of the things that I hope has changed since then is I was kind of lost my first day when I went inside to the school board building. I had to find my way. Like, oh, by the way, I'm the student advisor, but they welcome me with open arms. They were showing me, oh, this is where you go, this is where your agenda will be, and things like that. And some of the things that my responsibilities will obviously read the whole agenda, and some of those agendas would be super thick, analyzing the policies and things like that would have directly affect students. And I would try to talk on every single item that had to do directly with student abilities and powers that had been delegated and relegated to students and things like that. So that's one of the things I was huge on. My biggest passage of an item was item H3 in April 2019. It was through Dr. Steve Gallen. We're able to create an initiative that all leftover food from NDCPS schools will go towards homeless shelters and food sharing programs. However, unfortunately, that just during COVID that got paused. But I'm pretty sure, however, since then,
it should be starting up soon.
By board member Luisa Santos. I'm pretty sure she just proffered that item back in, I think, December or November. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. and things like that. Just being available, being the voice of students, and that I think that was the most important thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what other student advisor would bring to the table. I know Mr. Moritz over here is going to be a great one once he gets his hands on that. So
hopefully. But yeah, that's great. We had Luisa Santos on the show a couple episodes ago on the podcast.
She's awesome. I like her a lot.
She's great, very young, great energy, bright ideas. So it's great to see that connection. I want to talk to you a little bit about this new initiative we're doing here at Virtutem Populo. Get your thoughts on it. We're calling it the Florida Student School Board Member Initiative. Planning on launching now in February of 2024. It's going to be a grassroots statewide advocacy movement to try to get a student advisor or representative on every of the 67 school boards in Florida, which many people in Miami, maybe they take it for granted. They're always used to having a student there. But there's only like 4 or 5 counties statewide that have that, which is, pretty, we're lucky. And Miami-Dade has had it since like the 90s. So we've been the first in the game in Florida, but the other counties don't. And we want to change that over to the Populo. So I just want to get your thoughts as a former student advisor. How do you feel about that? What do you think do you think it's important to try to expand that role? What do you think?
100%. I'm so in favor of this, and I hope after this we could talk a little bit more how I can help you out, because that's such a great initiative.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these smaller districts can't say, oh, but it'll be difficult. However, you have Miami-Dade and Broward and Palm Beach, the 3 largest school districts in Florida. They have a student advisor. You have the number 2 largest school district. Well, number 2 is LA, and number 3 is Miami-Dade, and I think number 5 is Broward. They all have student advisors. So I think having, even when we have smaller districts becoming to have a student advisor, I believe that now the student's voice can mean even more, because now it's a smaller group of people, and you can go directly to board members who have a smaller constituency now.
Absolutely.
And I think that's such a great initiative, and I hope you guys are able to get it done.
We really feel that this is such a nonpartisan, common sense issue. I mean, some people we talk to, they'll turn it into a partisan thing. They'll say, well, maybe that's not something that people from both parties like. But the truth is that our current school board used to be majority Democrat leaning. Now it's majority Republican leaning. And you can talk to the board right now, and everybody loves the student advisor. They love having that student voice on the dais. They love being able to listen. So I don't really think it's a partisan thing.
No.
I don't think it's going to be an issue. I just feel like these districts, they haven't been introduced to the idea yet. And if they have, it's just too much time dedicated to how do we do this? How is this person going to be elected, especially in smaller districts? So at Virtutem Populo, we're going to get ready. We're going to bring the resolution to them. We're going to make it really easy. And we really hope that this is just a common sense issue. I mean, another thing that some students are working on is having a student representative on the State Board of Education, which Florida doesn't have either, which many states do, equally as important.
I know that we had previously just talked about, just before this interview, that I had sent LinkedIn DMs to different student advisors. Actually, I remember one of them actually was North Dakota State Board of Education student advisor. So now we're talking not only K-12, but let's do post-secondary. I think that's such an important thing.
Especially in Florida, the State Board of Education not only manages K-12, they're also in charge of the public university system.
Yeah.
So, I was meeting with this group yesterday with the National Student Board Member Association, and one of the girls in Florida is working on like a bill to get 2 representatives on the State Board of Education, one in high school and one in college, to kind of get that student voice out there. But I feel like Florida's really behind in all of these things, because North Dakota has it. I know California has a State Board of Education. I know there's many, many states that do. So it's just a matter of getting Florida on that track.
I know California, when I was doing some research, California even has their own student advisor association for the K-12. So maybe think of that as well once you have it in all 67 counties here in Florida.
Having like some unifying force.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Because although there's issues that are more district specific, there are issues obviously that are Florida just in general specific, like Florida in general. So I would say creating kind of like that association once you have the 67 counties. And it's not like board members are never going to say to you, we're opposed to it. It's more of like an administrative nightmare in the beginning. But when you're able to show, like when you're with your organization, you're able to show like, we've done this. This is what
Miami-Dade has done it.
Miami-Dade, the biggest in the state of Florida.
By far.
I think you guys can get it done. 100%.
I hope so. And I'm glad to have you on board. And have your support. I mean, that means a lot to us. Very involved, and kind of something I want to spin off on that, right? You've been very involved in the community, but, government-wise, you've also had a couple of jobs. I know you used to work for a school board member. Talk to us about that. How'd you get that job at such a young age? Anybody who wants to, pursue an internship with a school board member in Miami-Dade County, things like that, how would they go about it?
Well, I would say my involvement in the school board before proved me as kind of like an asset to these board members. A board member who just became mayor of Doral, Christy Fraga, who very great friend of mine. She told me, Josh, I would love for you to come work for me in the office here. I mean, you bring a value that the district and the people in the district. So I mean, that was one of the ways through internships. Kids in high school still, I would say Luisa Santos's office has such a great program, which I think all the board members should emulate. That she has kind of like a cohort of students, a fellowship, and that's such a great thing. And now you have kind of now forever kind of that bond both with her office, but now the people who are part of your cohort. And I remember seeing some kids from last year who were part of their internship that they were part of the fellowship, and now they're interns. So they kind of graduated. They moved up, and they remembered me. So it was I would say, starting off as an intern with board member Santos, or like you, with the superintendent, which I think that was a great opportunity for you. Reach out to the school district because they have great people over there and they're always receptive to students. Yep. I've never had a complaint from a self-complaint regarding the district. They have great people.
And another thing is we had Dr. Dultris actually on the podcast. He was our second guest, and we spoke about the summer youth internship program, which is this initiative the district has where students can get paid through the district to have summer interns everywhere, and they have great opportunities there. So any students listening, highly recommend you all check that out.
They didn't have that during me. I wish they had that because that's such a cool program. Wow.
And it's like it's like a $1.7 million program, something like that. It's funded with the Children's Trust, EdFed, and the school district.
Wow.
And it's not only school district internships. It's like any business can sign up through the program to host an intern, and their salary of the intern is paid by the school district with this fund. But the school district themselves also has interns. So if you want to work downtown at one of the departments for MDCPS, you can sign up online and get appointed to one of the departments. So it's a really neat program.
That's awesome. No, I if we had it, I wasn't aware of it. We weren't aware of it. But the fact that this is becoming a huge thing now, what a great resource.
So many students do it. That's how I interned with the superintendent. Mm-hmm. So it was a great opportunity. Another thing I wanted to mention to you and tell our audience, just wanted to share this brand new thing we're doing with Virtutem Populo. Kind of wanted to get your thoughts. It's called Miami-Dade Youth Governance Day. And the idea is that on April 10th, we want students in all 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade, we want there to be a high school student as mayor for a day on April 10th in all cities.
Oh, wow.
What do you think about that?
That's a great opportunity. So does that mean if they're in unincorporated, they become Miami-Dade mayor?
Yes, that would be the dream. We already have about 12, 13 mayors confirmed out of the 35, but we're hitting that grind every day. We're attending council meetings. Just last night I was at Miami Springs. Tonight there's a couple that we're going to be hitting tomorrow. So trying to get everybody on board. Hopefully we can get Mayor Cava on board at the county level. But, we're just trying to create that opportunity for students to get involved. So any students listening, stay tuned. February 1st, around that day, applications are going to open up where you can apply to be mayor of your city, whatever school. April 10th is a teacher planning day, so you're not going to be missing class. And then we'll take care of making sure that mayor agrees. We're going to take headshots of you so you look all professional. We're going to give you some workshops before in March. And then on April 10th, you're going to be mayor for the day for your city. So, just trying to provide those opportunities for students.
That's amazing. Like, I'm telling you, the things you're doing with your organization, like all these different ideas, we need more youth in government. We need more people that are so involved in the civic process. And that's exactly what you're doing. Imagine you get to say now you're mayor for a day. You have a headshot, you have workshops. It's one thing just going to a council meeting and like, oh, you're mayor for a day and do take a picture and you go. You're actually creating an experience for these kids and they're learning about the civic process on the municipal level, right? We're more used to like in APUSH and AP Gov.
It's all about the federal.
It's all about the federal government, but we don't know much about the state and the local because that's not, the hot button issues, right? But they affect us the most directly.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say like something President Biden now or President Trump signed, we didn't really feel the impact of that. Like, they'll say, we expanded whatever it is. We created this new department. We created this new program. But most Americans, it's nice to hear that something's being done, but you don't really see the impact of that immediately. Rarely do you, right? Versus something your local mayor signs, it decides whether the park next to your house stays open or whether your sidewalk is, going to be renovated or not. So very important. That's just that mentality of, emphasizing local government that we want to develop. But just as we, begin to wrap up this conversation, what's next for Josh?
For me, honestly, right now, just keep getting connections. I don't believe right now is the time for me to run for office. I think everybody has kind of like their own timeline and moments. I just want to keep learning. And, there's so many great elected officials here in Miami-Dade County, especially here in Miami Lakes. So you were very lucky and blessed to have such a great, like a great mayor, great council. I know a lot of them. They have great people in Miami Lakes, Doral with me and Mayor Fraga. There's a lot of great elected officials here in Miami. So just learning a lot from them and seeing, when it's my time. But until then, just going to keep learning.
Love that. So any plans for, going back to school? I mean, you just left UF a few months ago. What was your experience like there, by the way?
UF. So let me tell you about UF. I would say it's great. It's a great experience. If you really want to leave Miami without leaving Florida, I would say that's the real Florida.
Right.
I feel like Miami, it's kind of like its own country.
Right, exactly.
We have Only in Dade and all these things, but everywhere else, it's its own culture. And I'll say Gainesville it's a fun city. You have so many people who are young, and you have so many people who are all studying and things like that. But you also meet such invaluable friends. I have friends that I met during my bachelor's. I still friends with to today, and also my master's. But it's not for the faint of heart. It's a very difficult school. If you're able to get in, I would say it's one thing getting in. You're smart enough to get in, but are you willing to put in the work?
Right.
So if you want to be a Gator, you just got to put in that work.
Go for it, you say.
Yeah.
So, last question, just right before we close off. For the students who are currently listening who have some doubts about going away for college, obviously in Miami, lots of folks stay at FIU or they'll start at MDC or something like that. What would be your advice on whether they should, stay locally or try to go away for college?
Well, everyone's different. There's no all fits one approach, all size fits one approach. I would say what is best for you and your family and the career you want to do. For me, I wanted to get more involved in politics and in business, so I chose UF. But some may want to do another thing in, let's say, medical school. They want to go pre-med. You don't want to get much into debt in undergrad because all your debt will be in graduate. So maybe don't leave Miami
unless
or Florida.
You have bright futures or
unless you have bright futures. But if you want to go outside of Florida, for example, I would say it's such a great opportunity. I have many friends who left to University of Michigan, Dartmouth, Stanford, places like that, and they become kind of like their own new person in a way that like they've become more professional, they become more educated and things like that, and more beyond anything, they become more independent. So as young individuals and young professionals, I would say leaving Miami, leaving Florida, I think it offers you that kind of like independence and trial run in life before you really begin life.
That's fair. I like that quote, trial run in life. I'm going to start using that. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, we really appreciate having you. We hope you had a good time and know that, lots of folks are listening and really taking inspiration and advice from what you said. Thank you, Moritz. And no, I take inspiration even from you. I think you're doing a great thing here with both the podcast and your organization. I can't wait to see where you end up and where the organization ends up in the future. Thank you, Josh. This has been the Civic Action Podcast. Before we wrap up, we want to give thanks to Mayor Manny Sid for letting us use his studio right here in his office, as well as to the Miami Lakes Chamber of Commerce for their support in making this possible. Have a good one and stay tuned for our next episode.